Imagine this, a giant asteroid barreling through space at thousands of kilometers per hour, heading straight for Earth. If it hits, well, we aren't just talking about a bad day for a few thousand people. We're talking millions, maybe billions. Think global catastrophes, massive tsunamis, worldwide firestorms, and a global winter that could literally wipe out life as we know it. Now, we've all seen these terrifying scenarios play out in blockbuster movies, right? And lately, you've probably seen them flooding your social media feeds too. But how much of this is actually true? Has NASA really issued an official extinction warning? And honestly, the biggest question of all, if a massive rock really was hurtling toward us, could humanity actually do a single thing to stop it? Welcome to This Explainer. Let's dive right in and uncover the real story.
So, if you spent, any time at all on Instagram or TikTok lately, you've almost certainly seen the viral posts. The rumors flying around claim that a catastrophic asteroid is 100% guaranteed to strike Earth in 2038. They're saying human extinction is entirely certain and that NASA has actually issued a public warning. I mean, it sounds absolutely terrifying. But today, we're going to hit the brakes on the panic. We're separating social media fiction from scientific reality to figure out exactly what's happening out there in the dark and what the experts actually know.
Here's how we're going to break it all down today. We'll start with the viral doomsday myth, then explain exactly what these space rocks are. After that, we'll look at the history of asteroid impacts, how we're tracking the threat, how we're actively deflecting them with the DART mission, and finally, are we ready?
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the viral doomsday myth, fact versus fiction. Right at the center of all this recent panic is a very specific asteroid that's been grabbing headlines for years. It's called Apophis, and it's scheduled to make a famously close approach to Earth on April 13th, 2029. Now, the sheer scale we are dealing with here is staggering. Apophis is absolutely massive. We're talking more than 1,000 feet across. To put that into perspective for you, if a rock of that immense size were to actually collide with Earth, it would release energy equivalent to roughly 1 million times the power of the Hiroshima bomb. So when you look at those numbers, it makes total sense why people are scared, right? It's completely understandable why these viral posts generate so much terror. That kind of energy potential is just incomprehensible. But here is the actual data you really need to hear today. 0%. Yep. You heard me, 0. See, when Apophis was first discovered back in 2004, early calculations actually did show a 2.7% chance of a collision in 2029. And yeah, the whole world panicked. Scientists were genuinely worried that as it passed by Earth, our planet's gravity might kind of tweak the asteroid's orbit, bumping up the danger for future encounters. However, modern, highly precise data and extensive follow-up studies have completely 100% ruled out that threat. The chance of Apophis hitting Earth is exactly 0. So that news you keep seeing about an impending doom, it's simply fake. Moving on to Section 2, Space Rocks Explained. Know your threat. To really wrap our heads around the threat of near-Earth objects, or NEOs as the scientists call them, we need to define what's actually flying around out there. People mix up asteroids, comets, and meteors all the time, so let's clear it up. Asteroids, sometimes called planetoids, are basically giant chunks of rock and metal. Some are tiny, maybe 10 to 20 meters across, while others are hundreds of kilometers wide. Comets, on the other hand, are essentially dirty snowballs, made of ice and dust, leaving those famous, beautiful tails behind them. And meteors? Those are just the smaller rocks that actually manage to enter our atmosphere and usually burn up. But here's the wild part. Comets actually carry the highest threat level. Why? Because comets travel at almost double the speed of asteroids, and they have a nasty habit of appearing suddenly, which drastically cuts down our warning time. And hey, while we're defining things, let's quickly debunk a massive Hollywood myth. In our solar system, most asteroids are found between Mars and Jupiter in what's known as the asteroid belt. Now, if you watch sci-fi movies, spacecraft are always desperately dodging and weaving through these super dense, chaotic fields of colliding rocks. But in reality, that's totally fiction. These rocks are actually millions of kilometers apart from each other. Space is incredibly empty. However, occasionally, some of these asteroids do leave their normal orbit and wander a little too close to Earth. These are those near-Earth objects we just talked about, and they're the ones that actually pose a genuine risk to us. That brings us to Section 3. History of asteroid impacts. It's happened before. So while we've totally debunked the whole 2038 apocalypse thing, that underlying fear people have, it's actually completely valid. Because massive, world-changing impacts are a scientific fact of our planet's history. Just look at 66 million years ago. A colossal asteroid struck the Earth, triggering the exact types of global cataclysms we mentioned earlier, and resulting in the complete extinction of the dinosaurs. As it turns out, having a planetary defense program is, well, pretty important. Since the dinosaurs couldn't exactly build one, they didn't stand a chance. And that threat, it remains very real today. Fast forward to after the whole Apophis discovery in 2004, the world got another massive wake-up call in 2013 with an event in Russia that proved just how vulnerable we really still are. In 2013, a meteor exploded directly over Chelyabinsk, Russia. Now, what's absolutely amazing about this is that the rock itself was relatively small. We're talking only about 20 meters across. Yet it exploded in the atmosphere with a shockwave so incredibly powerful that it shattered thousands of windows across the entire city. The result of that single, relatively small airburst, roughly 1,500 people were injured. It's a perfect real-world illustration of why even the smaller space rocks out there demand our utmost attention.
Which leads right into Section 4, Tracking the Threat, Eyes on the Sky.
Because we know the danger is out there, international space agencies definitely aren't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. NASA and the European Space Agency actually maintain a highly detailed, constantly updated risk list. This list contains vital, real-time data on any potentially dangerous asteroid, tracking its exact impact date, probability, and size. To populate this massive list, NASA relies on incredibly sophisticated telescope networks, systems with names like Linear, CSS, Pan-STARRS, and Atlas. They are constantly scanning the heavens, every single night. And the best part? Our eyes in the sky are about to get even sharper. In 2028, NASA is launching a brand new space telescope specifically dedicated to hunting down these rocks, the Near-Earth Object Surveyor. Okay, so what about that terrifying NASA extinction warning you saw online? The one constantly claiming an asteroid is going to hit us in exactly 14 years? Well, here is the absolute truth about that. It was a tabletop simulation. That's it. NASA and global experts regularly run these mock exercises to practice their emergency response. They basically set up a hypothetical scenario, asking themselves, hey, if an asteroid were going to hit us in 14 years, how would we actually save the Earth? It was purely practice, guys. There was absolutely no real warning. But of course, the internet took that hypothetical exercise, completely stripped away all the context, and spun it into viral fake news.
Let's look at Section 5, Deflecting Asteroids, the DART mission.
Here is where things get really exciting. We aren't just helplessly tracking the threat anymore. Humanity now has a very active playbook to prevent a dinosaur-level extinction. NASA essentially relies on three main strategies for planetary defense. Step 1 is the kinetic method. This literally just means crashing a heavy spacecraft straight into the asteroid at an incredibly high speed to physically knock it off course. Step 2 is the slow push or pull method. This is where you use the tiny gravitational pull of a spacecraft flying closely alongside the asteroid to gently tug its orbit over a long period of time. Pretty clever, right? And step 3, the absolute last resort for massive rocks, is the nuclear method. But experts are quick to point out that this carries some really heavy risks. Detonating a nuclear bomb could shatter the asteroid into thousands of smaller, highly dangerous fragments that could still rain down and strike Earth. But let's zoom in on that first strategy for a second, the kinetic method, because this is exactly where humanity just achieved a massive, truly historic triumph. Back in 2022, NASA launched the DART mission. Their goal? To deliberately crash a spacecraft directly into a target asteroid millions of miles away. And the result? It was an absolute, undisputed success. The kinetic impact fundamentally altered the asteroid's orbit. Think about that. For the very first time in the entire history of our planet, humanity proved that it could successfully deflect an incoming space rock. It really leads us to this incredibly powerful realization. Unlike the dinosaurs, humanity can now successfully deflect an asteroid. Take a second to really let that sink in. The dinosaurs perished because all they could do was look up at the sky and watch it happen. But us, we looked up, mapped the threat, engineered the technology, and proved to the universe that we could punch back. We are literally no longer just helpless victims of the cosmos. Finally, Section 6. Are we ready? The verdict. So, as we reach our final verdict on humanity's planetary defense, let's look back at that mock exercise NASA ran earlier. You know, the exact one the internet twisted into a fake doomsday prophecy. Well, during that very simulation, an overwhelming 81% of the experts involved stated confidently that humanity is prepared. Our detection systems are getting sharper and faster every single year. And thanks to DART, we've definitively proven that our deflection technology actually works. Right now, today, there is absolutely no world-ending asteroid threatening Earth.
Honestly, the real danger we're facing at the moment isn't coming from space. It's from fake news spreading unnecessary panic on social media. The actual science, it tells a very different and very hopeful story. The experts are continuously monitoring the skies, and humanity finally has the tools to protect itself. But all of this leaves us with one final, very human question. Technology is just one piece of this giant puzzle. If we found out today that a massive asteroid was truly 10 years away, could humanity actually put aside its differences and unite to stop it? That is definitely something to chew on the next time you see a sensational doomsday headline scrolling across your feed. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious, and as always, keep looking up.